Hi there, folks. This is Coach Rich, Endurance Nation. Thanks for joining me for my weekly coach chat. Today is January 21st. My Endurance Nation OutSeason crew, they started their OutSeason on January 5th, so they are about halfway through their week 3. My November OutSeason crew, who started on October 27th, they finished their OutSeason on February 2nd, and I start transitioning them over to their Ironman, half Ironman, or their Get Faster training plans. So I've got one crew that is almost done with their OutSeason, another crew that just started. I'm doing my own OutSeason. Patrick just did a volume camp as he's getting himself ready for Ironman Texas. We're going live with our training plan sale next week, and we're bringing a lot of new folks on board in anticipation of us raising our prices for new athletes on February 15th. So what's going on inside Endurance Nationville and Rich's head is I've got lots of people going on parallel tracks. And so what I wanted to talk about tonight was all things OutSeason, okay? What the primary and secondary purposes of our OutSeason are, expectations, things to focus on, and common challenges that we see during our OutSeason. We founded Endurance Nation in 2007. We had our first OutSeason group in the fall of 2007, and I had been selling OutSeason training plans since 2005. So I've seen many classes of athletes go through this period, which we call our OutSeasons. So I've seen a lot of common threads across athletes each and every season, right? So the primary purposes of the Endurance Nation OutSeason are: 1, make you a faster 5K, 10K, and half marathon runner. Okay, if I can make you a faster 5K, 10K, half marathon runner, I've also made you a faster half Ironman and Ironman triathlete and Olympic distance athlete once I shift my focus towards building your endurance after your OutSeason, okay? My second primary purpose is to make you a faster 40K time trial cyclist. And specifically, we focus on lifting your speed at lactate threshold or your functional threshold power, i.e. the amount of work, how fast you can go, the power that you can put up for about a 60-minute time trial. If I've made you faster at a 1-hour bicycle ride, I've also made you faster at 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, after I start putting some endurance on top of that 40K time trial speed beginning in February, March, and April, okay? So a faster runner is faster at all distances. A faster cyclist is a faster cyclist at all distances, assuming that at some point we shift towards building endurance on top of that speed, okay? Anyone who's done a track workout with people who all they do is they run hard and fast, but they never do, a legit long run of more than 60 minutes. Those people are fast. You might not, you think that they might not be able to last with you for a 10K or half marathon. But if that guy's kicking your ass at a 5K or a 10K, he can absolutely smoke you at a half marathon and a marathon. The same is true on the bike. Okay. So the reason why we have those focuses is if I made you faster at shorter distances, I've also made you faster at longer distances once I put endurance on top of that speed. Okay. Secondary purposes of the OutSeason, and these are things that we've built into our training plans as additional focuses or through conversations with our team, some resources that we have created for them. First is building or creating the foundations for in-season running durability through high-frequency running now. Okay, so I'll talk about my own training. I started my out season October. It didn't really go well. A lot of friction. I've basically restarted. I trained, but I wasn't nearly as consistent as I wanted to be. So I've kind of done a reset with my own out season, and what I'm focused on is creating a weekly routine that gets me 4 runs per week. Because my best tool for building speed through endurance and keeping healthy, which is very, very difficult for me given past injuries and my freakishly flat feet and whatnot. What works for me is building a high frequency running week and then adding moderate volume on top of that frequency. So my minimum runs per week is 4. Once I work into a routine with my cycling that lets me get in 5 runs a week, then I'll do 5 runs, and I'll then maintain that 5-run running schedule across my entire year. But I'm laying the foundations for it by running 4 days a week in the out season. and so if you're having challenges with distance and intensity, when I say run, just run. Anything longer than maybe 20 minutes counts. Running frequency is an extremely valuable tool towards building the durability that you need to build the volume that creates the endurance later on in the year. Okay, so if you want to go from a 20-mile run week to a 25, but you're only running 3 days a week, those are some pretty healthy increases that you're only spreading out over 3 runs. But if you have 4 runs or 5 runs, you can make very small incremental changes to each one of those 5 runs and bump your running mileage up from 20 to 25. My goal has been set at 23 miles a week for a while. Last week was 27. This week is 30, and I'm going to stick it at 30 for a number of weeks. Okay. Our second secondary goal is to start leaning your long runs towards a half Ironman-esque long run. Okay. Your typical half Ironman long run training run is somewhere between like an hour and a half and 2 hours. At the very, very most, 2 hours and 15 minutes, but that's much more towards the Ironman scale. So your typical half Ironman long run is about 130 to 2 hours. And so while our out-season training plans, the long run is only about 60 minutes, we include guidance or optional guidance towards building that long run a little bit longer towards a very consistent hour and 20 to hour and 40 minute long run during your out season. And we highly recommend that you put a half marathon at the end of your out season, which creates a goal and a target that keeps you honest with that long run in your out season. So what I'm saying is you might have, your first half Ironman might not be until May or June, or your Ironman might not be until July or August. But if you can intelligently, safely, and incrementally build up a long run in the out season, months and months and months ahead of that, to a consistent hour and 20, an hour and from between 120 and 140, and do that week after week after week and manage the intensity inside that fixed distance. If you're putting up those runs now in January, that's going to pay off huge when you start doing your more important long runs much closer to your race months and months away. Okay. So where I'm at with my long run. Today was my third week of a 90-minute long run. I do it very, very hilly. I get about 1,000 feet of gain on this long run, and I'm keeping my same route. I'm not going to add any distance or any time to it. I'm just going to focus on using my other runs to make me faster, tracking my body composition, getting leaner, getting more fit, and having those benefits carry over into that long run without me necessarily, trying to make it faster, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to punch the clock at it's like 10.8 miles, hour and a half, and not really try so hard to run faster. Just let the running faster happen. I'll shift gears in early April towards making stuff happen in that long run. Our third secondary objective is if you have a need to improve your swimming technique and the resources, then the out season, and specifically the days off that we give you on Friday, on Monday and Friday, and the light training load across your week, if you can use those resources as an opportunity to find quality local swimming technique help, then the out season is a good time for that. I should say that everything we do in the out season, we're very, very focused on keeping your time commitment very, very low, which then buys us an opportunity, to increase your training volume later on in your year. Opportunity meaning I'm not spending your headspace, your spousal approval units. I'm not spending those now in the winter. And so everything we do, our objective of making you a faster runner, a faster cyclist, we do that via a very low volume method, so that because your time is more expensive in the winter, and I need you mentally fresh and employed and married when you get closer to your race. Okay. But and so in that equation, Patrick and I, back in 2007, we kind of did the ROI thing on swimming, and decided that we would leave it up to our athletes to figure out if them continuing to swim in the winter was a good decision for them. My recommendation is that you look at swimming in the out season as an opportunity to improve your technique via quality local resources and focused technique work, and not as an opportunity to build swimming fitness, because that you're better off shifting that focus towards later on in the year. Several weeks ago, I did a very exhaustive video and podcast on our thoughts on swimming in the out season. So find that. And then finally, what we've been doing internally is I've built a 14-week core strength and swim preparation protocol, I'm calling it. So basically what I'm doing is, and so I built it, and our athletes have been using that on Mondays and Fridays, and they've been tracking push-ups and stretch cords and minutes doing planks, and it starts with these exercises, and you do those for 4 weeks, then it changes and evolves, right? But what I'm doing is, assuming that later on in your season, I'm going to ask you to start swimming, and you're going to lock yourself on the aero bars on a bicycle for hours and hours and hours, I'm using the out season as an opportunity to strengthen your core, strengthen your lower back, and prepare your upper body swimming muscles for the stresses of swimming when I do have you swimming. Okay. So that's what our folks are doing. Expectations in the out season. Historically, we've seen our athletes have about a 2 to 4 minute gain on their, or they typically run 2 to 4 minutes faster in a 10K at the end of their out season. Wattage gains in the out season are between maybe 10 to 25% as a function of their experience or inexperience with out season flavor of work, intervals, their perspective on working hard, their comfort with being uncomfortable, things like that. I'll talk about that in a second. So, and so because your out season is so low volume, it frees up a lot of resources that we can apply towards getting faster, and you can bounce back from those week after week after week. As we get farther along in the year and I have to start adding volume to your training plan, I have to start building your endurance, and therefore speed gains become harder and harder to get. So the hard work that you do in the out season creates the speed that carries you to PRs later on in the year. Okay. Once you start shifting towards your in-season races, and specifically once the volume starts going up, it becomes more and more about building your endurance and less about making you faster. So if your goal is to get fast, the out season is your time to do it. Okay. Things to focus on in the out season. I'd say that the big one is taking on board our definition of work and training. Okay. It's very common for athletes new on the squad. They have been working with training plans that were very volume based and had very little intensity detail. Okay, so a ride might be 3 hours steady, easy run, long bike, very just where there wasn't much attention given to the intensity at which they're exercising, and a lot of focus was on what's the volume of these sessions this week, what's my cumulative volume this week, and how does that ratchet up every week, and then every fourth week the volume comes down so I can rest, etc. So they've been living in this world where the process of improving fitness is a function of punching the clock at very amorphous training zones and really focused on the time that they're exercising. For us, it's about maximizing the amount of work that you get done in the time that life gives you. Okay. So our out-season training plan every week is between 5 to 8 hours. It really doesn't change. We schedule in great detail the intensity of each individual workout, and the intensity and the cumulative stress across your week increases and increases and increases while keeping your volume relatively constant. Okay. And so what this means is the thing that one of the things that we'd like you to focus on is becoming more comfortable with discomfort. Okay. If you don't have an interval-based endurance training background, then all I can say is what we often see is what you call an 8 out of 10 on the hard scale is often more like our 6 or 7 out of 10. And so typically in the first 5 to 8 weeks of the out season, new folks have to wrap their heads around, I used to think that this was hard, but now that I'm doing these guys' definition of hard, now I see that I wasn't really going hard at all. And now I know why I never got faster. Okay. And so As we have you doing hard work, learn how to focus on your form, learn how to disassociate your head from the pain, learn how to distract yourself, learn how to manage it, deal with it, um, pace yourself better, adopt a new normal of what discomfort is. Okay. Um, Next thing is running frequency. Like I talked about it. If there's one single most valuable opportunity you can do in the out season, it is to just run. That means get in all the runs that we have scheduled for you. And if we have optional runs scheduled for you, explore those as opportunities to add frequency to make your body more comfortable and wrap your head around what does it mean to run 4 or 5, maybe even 6 days a week, because that high frequency running will pay off huge later on in your training season. Next thing to focus on, like I talked about, is building that long run, right? 60, 65 minutes, then 70, 75, 120, 125, 130. Fine to stop there, maybe 135, 140, but just build that safely over time and then just do it week after week after week after week, okay? Out season video aside, the two most valuable weekly training sessions you can have as a triathlete, week after week, month after month, year after year, is minimum 4 runs per week, a long run of between 120 and 130, and a ride of about 2 hours, two and a half, maybe 3 hours. If you can just do those week after week, month after month, year after year, you'll be far, far, far ahead of your competition. Next thing is to focus on is resist cycling volume. Okay, so you might see what I'd like you to explore is the perspective I'd like you to have is at some point in my year, whether I'm going to shift towards half Ironman or Ironman training, I will have to ride the bike for a long time. So the choice of me going on a 3-hour ride or 3.5 or 4.5, 5 hours that I might have now, that choice is taken away from me, and I must get these distances in. Okay. For me, racing Madison, September 13, I must start getting those distances in at the end of June. Okay. And I know what that's going to be like. And I've got my routes mapped out, and I know I'm going to be a climbing fool, and I'm going to be hitting the mountains, and I will be working hard. And so while I could be doing those things now, I'm not, because I'm choosing to not do them, even though I can, because later on in the year, I won't have a choice. The choice will be made for me. So what I would like you to do is, if you do have a choice to explore cycling volume in the out season, whether you live in the Southeast or Southern California, or you're a total freak show and you enjoy sitting on a trainer for 4 hours, I would encourage you to not do that, and instead explore the other tool of keeping my cycling volume basically fixed, and just crushing myself inside that fixed long ride. Okay. So for me, Southern California, I can ride 2 to 6 hours Saturday and Sunday all year long if I wanted. But what I'm doing right now is I'm capping myself at a 3-hour Saturday ride, and I'm finding new and creative ways how to make that 3-hour ride so hard that I'm on the couch for 2-3 hours after it. Okay. Next thing is develop good habits. Okay. by these good eating habits, body composition management, and a simple core strength, stretching, and upper body strength a routine that you just make it a habit. You develop these habits now when the consequences of failure aren't all that high, right? And you're also starting, if your goal is to lose 15 pounds by September, that goal is much more achievable if you start working towards that goal in January, developing those habits now, or creating systems, setting things up now, and developing habits and accountability now in January, so that you're rolling on autopilot come May, June, and July. Okay. It's far more common for people to wake up 8 weeks out from their race, and they think of all the homework that they thought they were going to do that they didn't do, and now they start jumping through lots of hoops. Research a process. What is the process? Implement a process, and having to make it a habit in the midst of all this other stuff that they've got going on. So start that stuff now. Common challenges. Wow, I've been talking for 27 minutes. Okay. I'd say that the challenges that we see athletes having in the out season are a function of retention. Retention of two things. One is athletes holding on to their volume-based perspective of how training should be done. Okay. It's very, very common for athletes to open up our out-season training plan, and they don't look at the intensity. They just do the math on this run plus this run plus this run plus this. In this bike, it's this first week is 5 hours a week, the second week is 6, the third week is 7, and then it flatlines at 7 to 8 hours. And they say, I'm all that. I'm an Ironman athlete. My easy week was 9 hours. And they start saying, well, it's only 6 hours. Certainly I can move this around so I can do my long run with my marathon training group, and I can go to the gym and do this, and I can take this yoga class, and I can do this track workout with my friends, and I can hold on to my second thing, all of my extracurricular activities. Okay. There's a reason why the Endurance Nation out-season training plan has 2 days off each week. It's because you need those 2 days off to absorb all the hard work that you're doing across those 5 days. And so typically what I start to see in our forums beginning in week 3, this week, 4 and 5, are comments like, OMG, WTF, I'm only 3 weeks into this and I'm feeling it. What's going on? I didn't know this was going to be this hard. And as we and our athletes ask them questions, we find out that, oh yeah, well, I've been doing this on the side and that on the side, and I've been doing this, and I underestimated this training plan because the training volume didn't wasn't nearly as high as what I'm used to. So for you folks listening out there or watching who are using one of our out-season training plans, I would say do the training plan exactly how it's written for the first 5 weeks. Give yourself 5 weeks to wrap your head around what the training plan is having you doing. Wrap your head around our definition of work. Make it into a routine. Develop and make habits out of the processes around body composition, core strength, all that stuff. Be a gold star A student for 5 weeks. And then after that, we can have a conversation about maybe, you know, going off the reservation and holding this and holding that and adding this and adding that. But there's just a lot of adjustments that happen physically, mentally, schedulally, prospectively inside that first five weeks. So do it my way for 5 weeks. Okay. Folks in podcast land, thanks for listening. Please check us out at endurancenation.us/join. Consider creating a free 7-day trial. Come on inside. We'll treat you like one of our athletes, and you can decide if how we work with our folks via our team coaching method is a good fit for you, your coaching, training, and racing needs. So with that, I'm going to go inside my my chat room here and answer questions from my athletes. Okay, folks, looks like a pretty quiet night. So if you have questions for me, folks on the inside about this podcast, please post it in either the a general discussion forum or the OutSeason forums, and I'll see it and answer you. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you online. Bye.